So a group of vegan activists protest a Valley restaurant this weekend.
Yeah, the group claims that the menu at Sparrow and Wolf is insensitive to the lives of animals. And Fox 5's Alyssa Deach is telling us what those items are and what the group hopes to accomplish. Alyssa?
Good morning, guys. Animal Action Las Vegas protested in front of Sparrow and Wolf near Spring Mountain and Arville yesterday. And while they are against all animal products, namely meat and dairy, they were out there specifically because of a few menu items. Those are lamb neck, sweetbreads, which are pancreas or thymus glands, usually from veal, and foie gras, which is the liver of a duck or goose that has been force-fed to fatten up that liver. Now, the vegan group says for them, educating the public on these menu items is their main goal.
If I came to a carnist, maybe even you, for example, and I started preaching to you about why you shouldn't be eating cheeseburgers, how many dead cows are on a burger, you might not align with that. But if I go ahead and I came at you and I says, well, are you okay with a baby lamb being murdered? They're serving lamb neck. Are you okay with foie gras? Do you know the process that entails to get it from farm to plate? Are you familiar with what sweetbreads are? You may think differently.
He went on to say the group just wants the restaurant to take the foie gras off its menu and they will move on to another establishment. There are also counter-protesters there. One told us they aren't against the vegan group, but don't support their tactic of leaving the restaurant bad reviews without having ever eaten there. Now, there were no reports of any violence during the protest. There was talk, though, of people saying harassing and threatening things online to the restaurant owner. The group says they are nonviolent and they do not stand by that behavior. Now, Jason and Monica, you may remember foie gras and the legal battle that's been going on in California for years. It is now officially banned again over in California.
That's really interesting because there are a lot of restaurants in Vegas that serve foie gras. And so I'm wondering, like, where they're going to move on to now, like the Las Vegas Strip, because there are a lot of those restaurants that serve it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's what they're saying. Take it off their menu and they'll move on to another restaurant. So you heard what he says. He said they're not going out there protesting in front of cheeseburgers at McDonald's because that's not going to resonate with a lot of meat eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Animal liberation!
Are we good? I'm a businessman that caters to everyone. So, I serve meat in my restaurant. I don't think it's not fair to harass, bully, and speak hatred. I'm being called a murderer. My son's pictures on my Instagram are being told I'm killing him with cancer. And they're attacking my family at that point. There's been threats, maybe not from their organization, but cause and effect when things go out on the social media. People within that community are making death threats at this point. So it's not a fun experience, but luckily we have the huge support of Las Vegas, and we have a huge community that's behind us. Originally it was because we have meat on our menu. They're vegans, they're animal activists, they're animal welfare, which I can respect and I appreciate that. I have my choices too, though. I have the right to serve what I want to do in my restaurant. And I source responsibly. I'm not serving factory farm food. Everything I know the farmer, I know where it comes from, I know where my fish comes from, to the boat, to the fisherman, how it's caught. So I do everything as responsibly as I can.
To peacefully assemble and protest anywhere that serves anything, but obviously meat and dairy, as we are all vegans, we definitely protest these type of places. But specifically with this location, they're serving the foie gras, they're serving sweetbreads, they're serving all these different things, lamb neck. We think that with our speciesism campaign that it kind of will help people kind of adapt to where it is that we're coming from a lot easier. If I came to a carnist, maybe even you, for example, and I started preaching to you about why you shouldn't be eating cheeseburgers, how many dead cows are on a burger, you might not align with that. But if I go ahead and I came at you and I says, well, are you okay with a baby lamb being murdered? They're serving lamb neck. Are you okay with foie gras? Do you know the process that entails to get it from farm to plate? Are you familiar with what sweetbreads are? You may think differently and you might align with us a little bit better. So we use that approach just to kind of get people to understand where it is that we're coming from a vegan perspective.
And what is the ideal outcome?
The ideal outcome, good question. Man, I wish he should be asking me these questions, Brian should, but great question. So the ideal outcome is we are hoping that he takes away the foie gras off his menu. That would be perfect. That's what we're hoping for. Clearly, we can't expect to have the outcome of him to shut the place down, the restaurant. We can't anticipate that. That would be the perfect world. But we can be hopeful for that. It's a win-win. We can have the foie gras taken off. It feels like then we can go ahead and move on to another campaign, to another establishment.
We are unstoppable! A vegan world is possible!
And new at 11, a local restaurant under fire and picketed by protesters calling for the removal of a menu item that they say is a result of animal cruelty. And 13 Action News reporter Austin Carter shows us what these animal rights activists want gone and why.
Lining the sidewalk outside Sparrow and Wolf restaurant in Spring Valley.
It's never food!
It's violence!
Protesters were calling for the removal of a controversial menu item, foie gras.
We have the right to peacefully assemble and protest anywhere that serves anything.
Darren Lara of Animal Action Las Vegas says the dish is only made possible by force-feeding ducks, expanding the size of their liver past its normal size before being killed. The dish has already been banned in California, but the restaurant's owner, Brian Howard, says these protesters have taken things too far and have discredited his entire business and have even harassed his own people.
I'm being called a murderer. My son's pictures on my Instagram are being told I'm killing him with cancer. They're attacking my family.
And many coming to the side of Sparrow and Wolf to counter-protest. They say these animal activists are doing more damage than they realize and are hurting a local business.
Is your goal to educate?
Absolutely.
If your goal is to educate, then why are you holding a business hostage?
But Darren says he isn't trying to tear down restaurants, but is trying to fight for animals, creatures that don't have a voice.
It's not going to stop. We have to change the agenda. We have to change people's thought process. And it's about education, exposure, and disruption.
And that was Austin Carter reporting. The owner of Sparrow and Wolf says he does not plan on taking food off of the menu, and that those protesters say that they plan to protest other restaurants serving the same dish.
A local business owner says he's been receiving death threats over his menu. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gerard Romalo.
I'm Heather Mills. The protesters are gathering outside of that restaurant to demonstrate against the business, which does serve a controversial duck dish. Gabby Hart joining us live from Sparrow and Wolf in Chinatown. Gabby, those activists were then met by counter-protesters.
Yeah, Heather, it's all over a dish called foie gras, which is fattened duck liver. Protesters angry, saying that those ducks have to be force-fed. They think it's animal cruelty. And I spoke with the owner here who says that some people in the vegan community are so upset that he's been getting death threats.
Animals feel pain!
Just like us! On Sunday evening, protesters with Animal Action Las Vegas gathered outside of Sparrow and Wolf restaurant on Spring Mountain, speaking out over a controversial duck dish called foie gras.
Geese and ducks, they are force-fed 2 pounds 3 times a day of food, and until their liver expands 10 times the size it's supposed to be.
Protesters say Sparrow and Wolf serves several dishes like foie gras that requires animals to be treated with extreme cruelty.
They also have head cheese, which is the inside of a pig's head that they make into cheese.
Chef and owner of Sparrow and Wolf, Brian Howard, says he pays close attention, though, to the source of his food.
It's treated humanely. It's sourced responsibly. So those days are over. Most of those times, what you see on the internet, those days are over.
And Howard says people within the vegan and animal rights community are so angry about the dish that some have even made death threats.
I'm being called a murderer. My son's pictures on my Instagram are being told I'm killing him with cancer, and they're attacking my family at that point.
But animal rights protesters were also met with counter-protesters.
Your mom likes meat!
Fried rice! We like pork fried rice!
Chicken is tasty!
Those counter-protesters saying they support the restaurant and people's right to choose what they eat.
Tell him that he has to change the menu of the entire restaurant he's sunk millions of dollars into. That's not fair. We don't go to where they work and tell them how they should operate their jobs.
There are some places where foie gras is actually illegal, but here in Las Vegas, it's served at many restaurants. Now, that protest wrapped up around 9 o'clock this evening. It lasted for about 2 hours. I'm reporting live. Gabby Hart, News 3.
Yeah, certainly a divisive issue. We know it is in California as it goes through the litigation process. Gabby.
They want to get a certain dish off the menu. 13 Action News reporter Austin Carter is live near Arville and Spring Mountain in Austin. These protesters are very upset.
Well, Masa, this is the third time these animal rights activists have protested outside of this restaurant here behind me. And after repeated attempts to get it removed, foie gras remains on the menu tonight. Now go ahead and take a look as protesters line Spring Valley near Arville outside Sparrow and Wolf restaurant this evening. These animal rights activists calling for the removal of a controversial menu item, foie gras. Now, it's important to note that it is legal in Nevada to serve foie gras, but protesters say the dish is only made possible by force-feeding ducks, expanding the size of their liver past its normal size before being killed. And just a week ago today, it was a similar scene out here. Protesters were holding up signs and rallying to get the attention of drivers and folks heading into the restaurant for dinner. Now I was able to speak with the organizer of these protests today, Darren Lara of Animal Action Las Vegas. I asked why his group is repeatedly protesting the same local business and not any spots along the strip that carry the same menu item. And here's how that conversation went down. At some point, are these protests damaging a local business here in the Valley?
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, that is the goal. If they don't want to comply, well, let's shut them down. Absolutely. Why not?
And you guys don't have any problem tearing down a restaurant?
No problems at all.
And the restaurant's owner, Brian Howard, says these protesters have taken things too far and have really discredited his business. As for these protesters, they say they will continue to come out here as long as foie gras remains on the menu. Reporting live, Austin Carter, 13 Action News.
We do not support bias of any.
Go back to playing poker.
Why don't you go ahead and come on our side and be on the side of compassion? We do not support death threats by anybody at all. It's not food. It's violence. It's never food. It's violence. It's never food. It's violence. What do we want? We do not support bias of any.
Eating plant-based is worth the transition. Saving animals while teaching real nutrition. A vegan world will someday come into fruition. Cause we unstoppable and a vegan world is possible. Wake up and teach, enlighten yourself.